Hello to anyone out there who might be listening. Today, I wanted to talk a little about the Lewis Assault Rifle, the post-buff Charlton automatic rifle, some new mechanics, American teams, again, and some conspiracy theories. That's the good stuff. To kick us off, I want to talk about the Lewis. Not the machine gun, but, the assault rifle, like I said before. You should probably be paying attention to that. Unfortunately, I'm making this video way too late because they fixed the Lewis Assault Rifle. When it was first introduced, it had like 14.4 damage per shot, semi-auto rifle or auto rifle damage, and they dropped it down to 13.2 standard machine gun damage. That's been a really, really huge nerf, and I guess a deserved one. A machine gun firing at about 400 RPM at battle rating 2 with a 20 round magazine was way too much. This is combined with the fact that the Lewis assault rifle is also extremely accurate and has basically no recoil, at least compared to its contemporaries. Not only that, it has like a really high aimed accuracy on the move, meaning that, you really could use it like an assault rifle. And it could kill even a vitality using target in a single chest shot, which made it, unique among machine guns. But all of that really brings to the mind the question, and our first conspiracy theory for the video. Why did the Lewis have auto rifle / semi-auto damage on a machine gun? Don't get me wrong, the gun is still incredibly powerful and strong after the nerfs, but it was really weird that it got added that way. And my initial theory, which I feel has been proven at least a little true to some degree, was that the Lewis was originally intended to be an auto rifle, or a semi-auto, and probably at battle rating 4. And if we're going to get really deep into the conspiracy stuff, then it was probably meant to be a counterpart to the Gotti rifle in the Tunisia event. Both factions getting a battle rating 4 auto rifle makes a lot of sense, right? Instead, the Axis got an auto rifle and the US got the Lewis machine gun, which, kind of sucks because of its size. But that's not really what this video is about. This video is about insane, unjustifiable conjecture, which kind of brings me on to my next point for the video, and another conspiracy theory. The Charlton automatic rifle was buffed, bigly. It went from being maybe the second worst machine gun in the game, after the Cowshat Premium that literally nobody uses, to what can only really be described as maybe the best assault machine gun in the game in a single change. Well, it wasn't a single change, it was a single patch, but you get my point. The rate of fire was increased from, it was like 420-ish to an overwhelmingly powerful 770 rounds per minute, which combined with having its recoil reduced, kind of made the Charlton, now post-buff, ridiculous. It has a 30 round magazine and extremely clear sights, which allows you to use it just at close range extremely effectively. It suffers a little bit at medium to long range, because it still has quite heavy recoil, it still bounces everywhere. It feels kind of the way a machine gun probably should, and it can't get that nice 30-20 recoil reduction split that other machine gunners can get to help deal with the fact that it really does have substantially bouncy recoil. But that kind of brings me on to my next completely deranged and unsubstantiated conspiracy theory, the new semi-bipod mechanic. Basically, in the new patch, going prone with a machine gun that has a bipod now counts as deploying the bipod, so to speak, and it reduces the machine gun's recoil by 80%, up from like 30% without deploying. I'm kind of torn on this change, since it promotes, dolphin diving and drop shotting, which looks and feels ridiculous. But thus far, I haven't really seen anybody but myself actually dropping prone to make the most out of their machine guns, because I actually take pose changing speed on most of my guys, because I think it's very fun to be able to go prone or crouch or stand up quickly. Anyway, the conspiracy theory that I'm fermenting in my head like a deranged psychopath sitting here, rubbing my temples and trying to read the minds of Russian developers on the other side of the world, is that the Charlton was buffed, partially, as kind of a test bed for this mechanic. Again, unsubstantiated. It has very high, almost unmanageable recoil when fired fully automatic, even after its buffs. That can only really be reduced by going prone. Even crouching doesn't do much for it. But when you lay on your stomach, it becomes usable. You can use it at long ranges. And the thing is that most assault machine guns in its class can be used while standing or crouching at long range with basically no issues. The Lewis, as mentioned before, even the MG13, which isn't really an assault machine gun, but, that's neither here nor there. I have no proof for any of this conjecture whatsoever. It's insane and completely pointless. But I had this little inkling in my head that somehow the devs are trying to see how much recoil people will put up with on a machine gun if they can just drop prone to instantly get rid of it all. Having that as sort of a contingency for when your gun actually has, recoil, like the MG81, or, the Charlton. I guess that if I'm going to wrap this up, I actually want to do a little bit of bitching and moaning. What would a video be without a little bitching and moaning somewhere in it? American Battle Rating 2 has become ridiculously powerful. And every single addition that it gets just seems to make it stronger. It just widens the gap in terms of infantry equipment between the Americans and their contemporaries. It kind of started with the M1A1 Thompson being moved to Battle Rating 2 from 3. But since then, they've received the Kretz, the Lewis Assault Rifle, the M1 Carbine buffs, and the Charlton being buffed, along with, other little things that I haven't really gone into, like, the Delisle getting buffed and moved up, which actually means it's usable now. The Enfield rifles, as well, are the best bolt-action rifles in the game and are kind of ridiculous, as the Tunisia event showed. But none of that, unfortunately, really matters, because American teams are just absolutely fucking torturous. Nothing you do can make them enjoyable, because the average player on US teams is just like an abhuman slug, completely listless, and they just wander around doing nothing a lot of the time. You'll look at the map, wondering why your team isn't pushing, and they're just hanging out on a ridgeline, trying to snipe with Stens or M1 carbines. I think I've mentioned this before, but if I were to guess why this was, it's because the Americans are really seen as the default, quote-unquote, good guy faction for children and console players and boomers like Bubba Texas 1488. But, man, it really sucks that no amount of insane buffs and ridiculously strong equipment can fix how frustrating and boring the Americans are to play 90% of the time, because you will just find yourself against waves of enemies completely alone. Anyway, to conclude, if you have the Charlton squad, give it a go. It's great fun now, instead of being tedious and frustrating to use, and please, pour one out for the pre-nerf Lewis Assault Rifle. I'll miss that little guy. That's all for now. Recoil reduction to Lender Est.